All right, so this weekend I am reading this book, Money Master the Game by Tony Robbins. This is his first book in a few decades. And for those of you who don't know, he's a very motivational guy. And in this book, he's talking about, basically how to get rich, which is my area of expertise. And he goes about it in a little bit of a different way. He's all about getting rich over 20, 30, 40, 50 years. And his main points so far, I've only read half the book, are basically that, by compounding and starting to save early, you get richer as your money grows later on. And he doesn't believe in mutual funds that, take like 3% of fees. I have very big issues with both of these. In one of his examples, he talks about how Benjamin Franklin left these cities $1,000 200 years ago with the fact that they couldn't touch them for 200 years, and then when they could, the $1,000 turned into, I think, like 6.5 million. And so he's like, look at the beauty of compounding. Well, none of us are going to live 200 years, and also $1,000 200 years ago was not the same as $1,000 today. He doesn't bring that up. He just wants to show, small dollar amounts turned into big dollar amounts. And waiting 20, 30, 40, 50 years to have, $1 million or $2 in savings. I know that's good for the vast majority of the world. And I'm sure his book is going to help a lot of people. But the way that I teach, I want you to make $1 million or two within, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years at the max. So it's very different. And I know that there's a lot of people out there who are like, oh, Tim, you just teach this get rich quick scheme and it's not possible, but it is. And, when I did it, turning 12,000 into 1.64 million, people said that I was lucky, I was a fraud, it was a one-time thing. Then when Michael Good did it, and now Tim Grittani has done it, and now several other students like Eric Wood, Azim John, Mark Crook, they're all on their way to multi-millions, and they started with very small amounts. And we're not waiting 30, 40, 50, 100, 200 years to have millions of dollars. Tony Robbins, great guy, very motivational. I like the fact that he's exposing, Wall Street's shenanigans, and I like the fact that he's interviewing these billionaires. But, his strategy and the billionaire strategy is not right for people with $1,000, $2,000, $5,000, or even $50,000 to your name. He would be, and his book is basically all about, and Wall Street is the same way. Everybody would be very happy making 10 to 20% per year. And no one really wants to work hard. They just want to put their money into some mutual fund, or as Tony Robbins, some annuity says. And focus on your life, and then make passive income in the background. And that's well and good, and that's going to be a lot more popular to the vast majority of people out there. But I don't want to wait decades to become a millionaire, and I don't want to do things passively. I think that if you are actively trading your brokerage account using the strategies that I partake in, namely shorting pump and dumps like CANF, which is going to crack beautifully next week, just watch. It was a little too early this week. And buying earnings winners, especially on dips like ACCO or ODP, where I'm making 10 or 15% inside of a week, and sometimes inside of a day. WETF really spiked $2 a share on the same day that I bought it, and that was like 10, 15%. So I appreciate what he's saying. It is a good book so far. At least it gets you thinking differently about your money, and not just putting money into a mutual fund that does, suck up 3% fees instead of the 1% that you think, because there's a lot of hidden fees. And the fact that, 96% of mutual funds won't even beat the simple indexes. So if you really want to invest in the stock market, just invest in the index, and you'll have a better likelihood of, winning over the long term, than that all this, bullshit stock picking that you see on CNBC, where it's money manager after money manager, and they say, well, I think China has turned the corner. Oh, I think this year is oil. Oh, this is gold's time. And it's all bullshit. He does bring up the fact that a lot of the stats, yes, 4% of mutual fund managers beat the index every year, but every single year that 4% is changing. So you have like no good odds of picking, the 0.1% likelihood of, a few managers who can win year in, year out. And as a trader myself who wins year in, year out, I'll tell you that stock picking and long-term investing is for suckers and for fools because there's way too many variables. You can't predict huge industries, economies, the stock market as a whole. 3 out of 4 stocks follow the market. So I like where he's going with exposing stuff, but he's really trying to appeal to the widest audience possible, where people who are working their 9 to 5 jobs and they think that savings are ridiculous. One thing that he doesn't mention when he's ripping on mutual funds, which I've noticed, and I kept waiting for him to bring it up, but he doesn't, the fact that even though mutual funds do basically take a 2 to 3% fee every year, and most average 7 to 8%, so you're basically paying 30% of your profits to mutual funds year over year. But if you don't invest in a mutual fund, you're probably going to do some really bad stuff with it, really stupid money management. So even though mutual funds, yes, do have higher fees than you think, they're still much better than other options. If you look at CDs and money market funds and just keeping money in the bank, mutual funds are still better. So even though he's critical of that, I'm also a little suspicious of his partnership with Stronghold Financial, which he's pitching hardcore throughout the book. And he says, oh, I don't have a dog in this fight. Or how does he say it? He says, we're as a print publication, we're discussing a partnership. Somehow I don't think that, when you have millions of readers and that you're basically going to bring this small company that I've never heard of, that most people have never heard of, tons of new customers, that you're not going to be partnered with them and that your relationship isn't going to be formalized. So I have a lot of issues with this stuff, but, it's still a good book. It's better than most, but I really am taking away from this the fact that my new How to Make Millions DVD is going to be so much better, not to make, how to make millions over 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, but to do it inside of 1, 2, 3, or 5, or 4 or 5 years. I'm going to try and cut it down to 1/10 of the time that he's suggesting. And that really gets me motivated because I know that I can do it. I know that you can do it. I have done it. I've seen several students do it. And the more and more people who do it, either going long stocks or shorting, and sometimes not even trading, but being very tactical with your small accounts rather than being passive and letting anybody else, whether they take a 2 or 3% fee or anything, even if they take a no fee, doing it yourself. I got an email the other day from somebody and they were like, Tim, I appreciate all your video lessons and everything, but can't you just manage my money for me? Like, I don't want to do anything. And I'm like, the fact that you're asking that means that you're going to be a pretty bad student. So feel free to ignore me. And he's just emailing me again and again. And he's like, what? I don't understand. I'm trying to give you a compliment. I don't want you to just make money passively. I don't want you to just make money following stock picks. I'm not training blind monkeys here, okay? My top students are self-sufficient. A lot of people question, like, the alerts. Tim, you send out an alert and, when I follow it, sometimes it doesn't work out. What should I do? The alerts are guides to my strategy. You see exactly why I'm buying, why I'm shorting, when, what are the indicators, what time of day it is. Why do I have a profit? Why do I get out sometimes quickly? Why do I screw up sometimes? It shows you every single thing that I think. And over time, if you give it time and if you use the alerts the right way, then you learn a framework for your own trading. You say, okay, Tim, likes to buy breakouts over previous highs. So let me look for the previous 1 month high of this stock. Okay, they just reported good earnings today. So let me look for the previous high of the 1 month. And if it breaks that, let me use that as a buy indicator. Okay, I bought it. Oh, wait, Tim just bought it like 10 minutes after me. That's awesome. I'm on the right track. That's the point of my alerts, not to follow. And that's another thing that I don't appreciate with Tony. I understand that the vast majority of people want easy solutions and they have busy lives and they want their money to work for them in the background and not do much for it. But that just goes against everything I believe. I really want you to be knowledgeable. I want you to be self-sufficient. And yes, I want you to, get rich within a few years. And I think that if you want it bad enough, if you train hard enough, you can do it. My stuff, obviously there's a lot of DVDs and video lessons, but if you realize it's all front end loaded, if you study hard for a few weeks or a few months, you have that knowledge for the rest of your life and it's yours. You don't need me. If I get hit by a bus tomorrow, you still have that knowledge. And that's, the difference between me and my, How to Make Millions DVD and this Money Master the Game. So I'll continue reading. I'll write a full review, but understand that my DVD is going to be better. Thank you.